Hello, welcome to the update module for ALD606, the Community College Movement. We'll talk a little bit today about some of the bigger issues that we're facing, some of the hot button issues that we have, and some of the innovations that are emerging out of our movement. Whether they're revolutionary or incremental changes, we really need to move our systems forward, and it's quite a challenge right now. So some of the big issues. Well, I really like this building, the corrugated steel connected to the brick right next to it, and I just kind of look at that and go, oh my gosh, who put all that together? Well, that is the community college movement, and that is our higher education policy model, that we approach education, and particularly community college, from a history of just adding on little pieces here or there to a traditional framework and just hoping everything works. We're at a time now when we're just going to blow up some things, some real basic things, to be able to do the things we need to for success and completion. So here's some of the bigger issues that we're facing, not just at the community college, but in general across all of post-secondary education. We're about to move into higher ed reauthorization. That's the basic policy bill that funds most of the big programs. For us in community college, that's a real focus on financial aid and TRIO and other types of support programs for learners. So it's going to take a couple of years. So we're trying to figure out how to be better at what we do, knowing that it will be a few years before that higher ed reauthorization is actually going to occur. Lots and lots and lots of regulations. For example, a call for all schools to do something more on financial literacy, a call to do more with veterans. How do we handle those? We want to do those, but there's not necessarily funding behind those. So how do we incorporate those? The one for veterans, for example, and supporting veterans, we just received a $1.25 million grant to build a veterans center here on our campus as a way. So we're using private funding to help get the right resources for the veteran students that we see. We have a couple thousand veteran students here at Cuyahoga Community College. College affordability has constantly been an issue. I think it's slowly working its way up the issue mix for state and local legislators. So the notion of tuition freezes and the notion of gainful employment when you're done, the amount of student debt that they have is clearly something we're very concerned about at the community college here. Even with the low tuition, it's still a big issue for us. Obama has, in college affordability, wants to talk about a ratings plan. So how do you rate a 2-year community college teaching where several of the students transfer, and sometimes before they get a degree? You know, we transfer 7,000 students a year successfully, and we graduate about 3,500, and only half of those are transfer graduates. So how do we do the rating on that? How do we compare success rates to an elite private school, something like Case Western Reserve University, or a flagship school like Ohio State, or a regional comprehensive like Cleveland State? How do we do that? And right now there aren't good answers to those questions. And then, of course, we're all interested in improving performance, whether it's here at the community college or even at some of the most elite schools, trying to find improvements both in the classroom in terms of more success and completion, as well as out of the classroom in terms of doing business differently. All right, some of the hot buttons. Well, here in Ohio, performance funding is a big issue. Sexual harassment has been in the news nationally, and I think it's a big thing. It's particularly tied to the issue that's third on the list here, the role of athletics. Even in a community college, the role of athletics, where it's not a big deal, it is becoming a big deal. So here's completion funding, and this is from the Ohio Board of Regents. As we slowly move away from all emphasis on enrollment in our funding and moving towards a combination of completing a course, success points for getting through developmental ed, taking a college gatekeeper course, finishing 15 and 30 hours, completing a certificate or a degree, and the at-risk or access category. How do we deal with schools like Cuyahoga that have a very large at-risk population versus maybe other schools that have less so? So that's one of the hot button issues that we have. The next one is athletics. The NLRB recently ruled on Northwestern students about their ability to unionize. And this is a chart, and this is not community college, but post-secondary in general, of college logos on a 2x2 matrix of affordability, or not affordability, excuse me, of revenue by profit. So you see Texas by far leads in revenue, Alabama, Penn State, my alma mater, LSU. Many of these schools are in the SEC, Florida, University of Kentucky. So those are schools that have high revenue and high profit. And then you see many of the other schools in the quadrants. You know, only 22, 23 maybe schools around the country actually make money in their athletics, yet there is a lot of money in the program. So this is a hot button about whether student athletes should be able to unionize, and it's particularly a hot button on the sexual harassment issue, because on the sexual harassment issue, athletic departments are often the primary finder of fact in those cases. So 2 case studies that are here. Let's see if I can bring them both up, and I can also provide you with links to them. Here's one on the NLRB regional director with players qualifying for employment. See if I can get the other one going here. And here's another one from Inside Higher Ed. That's on a student athlete who has been twice accused of sexual assault and is now with a 3rd school. So these are really critical issues that we get to. These are things that you might want to think about reading and reflecting on that are, you know, we're trying to stay on success and completion, but these other issues that are out there, from the role of athletics and scholarship, we've had big discussions here at our college about it, the role of do we have a good policy and practice on sexual harassment. All of those are kind of playing in, and frankly, they're important issues, but we're still trying to get to success and completion. All right, some innovations, and ultimately, community college is a movement that's been around for 100 years, but most of us existed for 40 to 50 years. And when we first started, we were the innovation. So right now, we have to get back to our roots and re-innovate. And we have to go back and blow up some of our old history and get after it. So I'll bring 3 of them to the table here. Number 1 is the iHeart Analytics, as I've got here, the use of metrics in our everyday decision making. I think we've evolved from organizations that have used a strategic plan and having points of direction and putting money towards that strategic plan to one that is far more metric driven. There's a book that Kobe Cosgrove has written from Cleveland Clinic about the Cleveland Clinic way. We've all read that book as senior leadership in. We brought in Toby to talk about it. Here's a nonprofit organization that has a high metrics model, and we're incorporating some of those very metrics. You can see them here. These match some of the performance funding things that I talked about from the state. And we have these are by campus with target values 14, 15, 17, and 20. So we're clearly moving the organization across metrics that span the entire student experience, from entry and readiness all the way to graduation. The second innovation that we have to talk about is that community colleges need to blow up the notion that access rules everything. We let people into things, and they have, quote unquote, the right to fail. Well, the right to fail is no longer usable, workable in our industry. So we really have to move towards mandating certain things to happen within a student's life. And I think the biggest that we've done here, that many other schools are doing around the country, is a set of mandated and coordinated first-year experiences. My colleague Michael Scope at the Metropolitan Campus president has said, you know, everybody has a first-year experience. Why don't we actually plan one for them? And he's right, that we've just been letting students have any experience they want. And you know, we would lose half of our students by the time next fall rolled about. Many of them could have been saved if we had put some mandated things in place. These are all based upon best practices that many community colleges and our four-year partners have used for years. Here you see connect, engage, plan, and succeed. And this would mean for us mandated convocation, mandated new student orientation, mandated first-year student success seminar, and mandated academic planning, all done in the first semester or 16 weeks of someone's time with us. We clearly connect that back to the metrics, and we hope to see a better fall-to-fall retention rate as we go. We're currently working on the mandated sophomore year experience and also connecting up some of the programs we do for students with 45 or more hours to get them on completion paths. Now, last innovation I'll talk about is called One Door, Many Options for Success. This gets back to the mission creep thing that I mentioned in the lecture earlier. We're trying to be all things to all people. We run farms and corporate colleges and hotels, and Tri-C runs a corporate college and a restaurant, Pura Vida. So we're in that game as well. So what's One Door, Many Options for Success? Well, what we're discovering is that we have way too many entry points into the college. And it's okay to have access, but many students just bounce from one door to the other and don't know what they're getting. And many of the doors don't connect to each other. For example, our workforce front door doesn't connect to our academic front door. So we're blowing up, according to our theme here of that old building, kind of blowing it up and building something from scratch. Thanks to a grant from the Cleveland Foundation, we are in something called One Door, Many Options for Success. So we are going to approach all students through one lens, and so that we evolve the services and curricular around the student instead of having the student work around what are, for us, services of convenience. The mental image I like to use is a pinball machine. Think of the student as a ball, and they hit the flick, ball comes up into the playing field of the college campus with a few bumpers, which could be people like student success specialists. And what do? Well, click, 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 go over here to financial aid. Click, click, go over here to enrollment. Click, click, go down to an academic office. Click, 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 go up here. Oh, double bonus points. I got a couple signatures. And they just run around, hoping to score points. And points meaning that they get enrolled in classes and move forward in their student journey. Well, why don't we think of it differently? Why don't we take all those services and wrap them around the student? And the student doesn't have to go anywhere. We don't send them to 20 different places. And where's the one door of that? Is that going to be maybe a set of academies at the college and rotating the services around students in learning academies together? It could be an interesting thought that we have. So this is an evolving innovation for us. We're a little more on the cutting edge of some of the other schools in doing it. We started with one-stop enrollment center. So if you've done that, and Cleveland State and some of the other schools have worked in that direction, pat yourselves on the back. That's pretty cool. But I'm talking about a one-stop for everything, from workforce bricklaying people all the way through to grandmoms coming to us for Encore. And we're talking about one door that does enrollment, counseling, academic support services. How do we wrap all of that around, both virtually and physically? And how do we reshape our campuses to do it? So great things to think about. This is all part, if we're going to be better as a community college, better in the community college movement, these are the three things that we have to work on for us to get better. All right, that's my update, things that are happening around the country and here at Tri-C. I hope this was helpful to you in learning. The community college movement is implementing the very things that we studied the last couple of years and kind of committed to. We're deeply committed to getting to President Obama's AGI initiative of 20 million more graduates. Here at Tri-C, that's 13,000 more graduates this decade. We're deeply committed to providing high quality and affordable education so that our students can go into the local economy. 85% stay right here. So we would go into that local economy and earn what we call a family sustaining wage. We're deeply committed to those values. That's far more than just being an educational institution that teaches students, gives them a right of access, kind of a right to failure, and just hopes that they do okay. That world is just no longer good enough. And so if you want to be in that movement, we've got spots for you. But boy, it is hard work. We're learning wonderful new things. So that's all I've got. And I hope you go to the discussion questions that are kind of connected to all of this work. And I'll see you on the discussion boards this week. Thanks.